We're a little short-staffed this evening. Carry on.
Cozy.
Do I have any public comment from the board?
Yeah, I would like to say a couple things. The Lunenburg Lions Club is holding a pancake breakfast on Sunday, May 29th, from 7 to 9:30 at the Eagle House Senior Center. It was 10:30 before, but the memorial service is going to be at 9:30. Therefore, the pancake breakfast will stop at 9:30. There's a suggested donation of $5 for adults for this one, $3 for children, with a cap of $20 per family. After the memorial service is over, folks can go back to the senior center, and there will be coffee and pastry available. The Lunenburg Turkey Hill Family Lions Club is going to be holding their annual spring roadblock on Saturday from 8 to 2. They're also going to be collecting used car seats and clothing at the Boys and Girls Club of Lunenburg. They have a small tent set up in front. This is during the town stroll on Saturday. They're collecting all sorts of things: outerwear, coats, costumes, towels, sheets, drapes, sofa and chair covers, pocketbooks, anything. It looks like anything you can think of that you want to get rid of. Donations can be left on the porch at the Boys and Girls Club anytime between now and May 21st. Please support your town.
Okay, Saturday's a busy day. The polls are also open for our town election at the TCP, Passios Building, from 7 to 5 on Saturday the 21st. As Mrs. Luck mentioned, there's an uptown stroll planned for 10 to 3 on Saturday, where there'll be open houses at the library, the Eagle House, the Teen Center, the Historical Society, ending with some activities, a concert by Jeff Mendoza and some raffle drawings, etc., at the Lower Common. We will also have a booth set up to talk to potential volunteers for town committees. That booth will be near the Historical Society building on School Street. All righty. Do I have any public comment from the public? Okay, hearing no. We have a 7 o'clock appointment with the Lunenburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Good evening.
Hi. My name is Darlene Steele, and I live at 1234 Mass Ave in Lunenburg. I'm the current chairperson of the Lunenburg Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, and we are here tonight to try to secure a permanent home for our trophy cases that are no longer be stored at the high school. So basically, I'm just going to read what I've put together so you can get some information as far as what we have. Lunenburg High School Athletic Hall of Fame currently has 2 4x8 trophy cases located outside of the high school gymnasium that we have been told will not be relocated to the new middle high school. Since the high school building will be closing on June 10th and the demolition of the building will take place shortly after, we need to move fast to secure either temporary storage of the cases or a permanent home for them. We're looking for a permanent home for the trophy cases that are accessible and visible to the public. While searching for options, our thoughts went to the TCP building. We think the lobby of TCP would provide a suitable location for our current display of Hall of Fame plaques. We currently have 30 individual inductee plaques and 16 plaques. The committee would like to ask the selectmen if we could move our trophy cases into the lobby of the TCP as a permanent home. If that is not possible at this time, we're asking if we could possibly store the trophy cases at the TCP and display our current plaques in the display case that is located in the lobby of the TCP. As we are looking for a permanent home for the trophy cases, hopefully in the future the trophy cases would be placed somewhere in the TCP building where the public would have access to viewing the display. We've currently contacted a company that will be removing the cases from the high school prior to the closing. They will either move the cases to the new location or they will pack the cases to be placed into storage. if we're unable to secure a home to install them at this time. And then when the time comes, they will reinstall them at their permanent home.
Okay.
So,
Any questions or comments?
Well, I guess a couple questions is, so do you have a reason as to why they're not willing to be located at the new middle school,
the
high school?
school told us they weren't going to be relocated because they didn't have a place to put them at the new high school.
Okay. The only question that I have is, given the new potential use of the TCP, I don't have a problem with storing them and perhaps eventually displaying them permanently, but my question would be is, given that we don't know the fate of that building definitively yet, I'm not sure that making it a permanent display makes a lot of sense, and I guess I would defer to Mr. Toll as the chair of the school building committee. I mean, it's just, sorry, the building reuse committee, sorry.
Yeah, the current status of Passios, just to remind our audience, is that the selectmen have agreed to pursue a plan to use the Passios as a potential for a combined town hall operation. That is subject to a study, a marketing study that we've been authorized by town meeting to do for the sale of other buildings in town that would fund the work that it would take to convert or to update Passios to play that role. So I would be reluctant to make a long-term commitment until we know the actual design of, assuming everything goes according to plan, the actual design of the town hall. Now, having to do with, memorabilia of the town, I certainly feel it's valuable. It's a valuable asset that I'd like to preserve. But I would think that, either the high school, which is kind of the most obvious choice.
Well, obviously, but they don't have enough space at the new high school for the trophy cases, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me?
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm Richard Brockelman, 56 Cross Street. You do have some pictures that we distributed, and I did want to elaborate a little bit on those. The picture of the displays that are currently in the high school are, as Darlene explained, these two 4-foot by 8-foot display cases. What you have is you're seeing all of the plaques that we have in one of the cases. That's not normally the way we would distribute them. We usually distribute them over the two cases, but we compacted them to show how many plaques we have at this time, although there are the current inductees are not included in there, which are 5 individual plaques and a team plaque, and there's also a team plaque missing that is having corrections done to it. So our total right now would fill one of those cases. The other pictures you have are what are of the Passios lobby, showing potential places where these cases might be put up, but apparently that's not going to be the case right now. But another question we had that Darlene spoke of was perhaps utilizing the current glassed-in display that is in the lobby to put these plaques in so that the public could at least view them, and they would be, easy to remove if they needed to be.
Would they fit?
Would they fit? I took some measurements, and it's at least as large as one of our displays. So I believe the ones we have currently would fit. Our next induction would be in the fall of 2017.
personally, I'm not opposed to allowing the temporary display in the case at the TCP. I'm not sure what they currently have displayed there. It does look like they're utilizing it, so I'm not sure what programs are using it for display purposes. I think it's disappointing that we can't find room at the new high school for such an important part of athletics.
I guess what we've been told from the athletic director is that when we get into the new school, there will be a space provided for us for the current inductees, and we're going to do a perpetual plaque that'll have all the information as far as who the other inductees are, and we'll have that big of a space, but we don't know exactly how big that's going to be. But that's going to only be like the current inductees. And then once we induct new inductees, those have to be removed and put into, you know, wherever we can find a spot to put these other ones.
You know, another place to reach out, I agree with Mrs. Bertram that the most logical place is the high school. I'm surprised, but, you know, the Historical Society is another place that, you know, it being a historical artifact, you know,
Right.
and, you know, I know that they kind of have a limited amount of space too, but as we go through this planning for town center, you know, they'll be part of the conversations of
Right.
what space they need and what buildings we have available, et cetera. I would certainly be supportive of giving you a temporary home and ask you to continue to work this diligently
Right.
with the high school, the Historical Society, et cetera, and, you know, but I'm not sure the town municipal building is the most appropriate place, frankly.
I am familiar with the Historical Society, and I'm pretty certain they don't have room for the cases as they exist right now, and I don't know if they could even find room for displaying all of the plaques and the ones that will come into the future.
That's a good lead into my next question. Looking at the display case that you have a picture of, how far back does this go? How many years? What's the first plaque?
We had our first induction in 2007, and we've had 5 biannual inductions since then, and also a off biannual induction of one football team during the 50th anniversary of football in Lunenburg. Okay. There's a total of 30 individual plaques and 6 team plaques.
My only other issue would be that obviously this is going to continue to grow. And
Yes.
once you find this permanent home, you're going to outgrow that permanent home fairly quickly.
I think
So-
there's enough room in both display cases to take us at least through 2025.
To 2025?
Yep.
So, again, I don't have an issue with the current display case, but are you familiar with what's being posted in there right now? That there's some posters?
I looked at what was in there. There's that large, if you look at the one that has the display, there's a piece of paper showing the progress of the new high school.
Okay,
And then there are 2 notices for parents. One for foster parents, just encouraging people to become foster parents. And one other that I can't remember right now what they were talking
Okay.
about.
okay. Well, I certainly don't have a problem with that being a temporary home, but I do think before we agree to a permanent home, I would also encourage you to look for other options that would be perhaps more visible and more appropriate for, you know, a school-related athletic hall of fame.
Right, exactly.
But
What
I don't-
about the temporary storage of the cases? Is there space at the TCP where we possibly could store them?
Well, here's the issue with TCP. The design of the future municipal building has not been done to the level of architectural drawings, et cetera.
Right,
We're holding off on that to ensure that, that we have the funds available to move forward on that.
okay.
So we are allowing, in order to pay for the operation of that building, we're allowing some current tenants to stay. So I'd have to, the town manager is managing that for us with some help, and I'd have to defer to her if there's any storage space available. But I can't make as we said, we can't make a permanent,
Right,
commitment.
Yeah, I have to assume that there is storage space available, if nothing else, a classroom that's not being used.
okay. Because we need to contact the person that's going to move the cases and let them know where they're going and when they can be moved, and,
Right, and time is of the essence because you have to be out of
Exactly.
the building, right?
yeah.
So why don't you contact who is going to move them, and
Okay.
let me know when that will occur, and I'll let you know where they can
All right,
be
because
placed.
I think we have to give them a 2-day notice when they can be, moved. So,
Okay,
And they have to be out of there by the 10th of June, I believe.
yeah,
okay.
so, okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. Our first current business is a request to join Central Mass Regional Stormwater Coalition. This is a continuation of our discussion from last week, and I believe we have the IMA in front of us.
One thing I neglected to mention last week was in speaking with Matt Morrow, he works with the town of Sterling, who is a member of the coalition, and he spoke very highly of their work and how much Sterling is benefiting from their association with the coalition.
So as I said last week, I think this makes sense. I think it's a fairly low cost for a lot of benefit to the town. I think anytime we can network with other communities and learn from their experiences and partner with other communities, I think it's to our advantage. So I would make a motion that we enter into this intermunicipal agreement for participation in the Central Mass Regional Stormwater Coalition.
I would like to second that.
Okay, any further discussion? I'd just like to add that I didn't find anything in the IMA that I found objectionable. I still would like to reiterate the fact that I'd like us to encourage a neighboring community to get involved, and then encourage the coalition to accept them if they do want to be involved, because I know they're trying to keep the number manageable, but it makes sense to move it north a little bit if we're going to play a role. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 And I would agree with those recommendations, as I said last week.
Well, it's great. They just got a grant to provide training and technical support to member communities, so we'll put our hand up right away for that.
Good. All righty. I have a request to adopt Montechusett Regional Natural Hazard Mitigation Plan for 2015 update.
Okay, so I am not necessarily looking for you to approve this evening, but I did want to advise you that MRPC has advised the town that FEMA Region 1 has completed its review of the Montechusett Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan for the jurisdictions in our area and found them approvable pending adoption. So they've provided us a copy of the full report, which is, I think, probably 200 or so pages. And I'm not sure if this is a document that you want to have the opportunity to review before you approve it, or?
I would. I would
Okay.
like to take a look at it before we, and I don't know, it looks to me like you have one CD. Is there a way they can make that available electronically, or that can be posted?
Yeah, I can do that. I just didn't want to do it
Yeah.
before I knew what you wanted to do, so.
I would like to review it.
Okay, so,
Does it have a due date in terms of?
let me
or-
see. I don't think I think it was just one of those as soon as possible, because once we have adopted it, then we're eligible to apply for grants, hazard mitigation grants if we so chose. But I don't think that they have given us a date. So we will distribute this to you by the end of the week and schedule it for board action sometime in June, earlier in June. There's a resolution. Once you are ready to adopt it, there's a resolution adopting the update.
Great,
Okay.
great, thank you. Okay, let's go down to the interviews, appointments, reappointments. We have to ratify the appointment of John M. Welsh for a heavy equipment operator. That is an appointment by Kerry.
Yes. So as the chair mentioned, this is a request to ratify the appointment of John M. Welch III to the position of heavy equipment operator in the Department of Public Works. As you know, we've had some difficulty in hiring and keeping people in DPW. This is the final opening that we are looking to fill. I did meet with Mr. Welch a couple of weeks ago. He has quite a bit of experience in with trucks. He does some plowing, and he's done some maintenance work for a private residential development. So he has a lot of experience that will be very beneficial to our Department of Public Works.
I would make a motion to ratify the appointment of John M. Welch to heavy equipment operator at the DPW.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then we have Paul Doherty from Associate ZBA member to ZBM member, term to expire June 30th, 2017. I don't know if there's any paperwork. but
Right.
We all know
We all
Paul.
know Paul, and I think he's doing a great job as a associate on the ZBA, and I would make a motion to appoint him as a ZBA member with a term to expire June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in-
Just that Ray Beal highly recommended him. They're looking forward to him joining the board.
I actually was surprised to find out he was an associate member. I thought
I
he
was too, because he's at every meeting. I was
Exactly.
too.
Now they need a new associate.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All righty. Minutes, we have minutes from the 3rd of May. Okay. And warrants, accounts payable for the school, $1,249,901.85. Accounts payable for $263,872.70. Payroll for $720,191.64. What is this? Payroll for $764.27. And payroll deduction for $151,193.12. I have one item left over from last week, which is the Memorial Day resolution declaring that Sunday, May 29th, is Lunenburg's Day of Observance, and that all United States flags will be lowered to half-staff and remain at half-staff through Monday, May 30th. May I have a motion to pass that
Motion to pass the
resolution?
resolution as read by the chairman.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That'll be read at the Memorial Day ceremony. Are there any committee reports?
I do not.
Mrs. Luck?
Yes. The ZBA approved Peter Kelly's application Let's see, what did he want to do? He wanted to construct a two-story addition to an existing commercial building, which will include 2 garage bays and a second-floor apartment at 36 Summer Street. Currently, an auto sales business exists at that property, and this use will continue, as previously permitted in May 2009. The school committee is going to meet tomorrow evening. The Stormwater Task Force did not have a quorum for its 5/12 meeting. Ed Himlin of the Massachusetts Watershed Coalition attended as an invited guest, and the members who were present had the opportunity to discuss the Mass Watershed Coalition's proposal to assist the task force. His proposal was very well received by all in attendance, including Land Use Director Adam Burney. As there was no quorum, the task force was not able to vote on his proposal. We'll discuss it further at our next meeting on May 26th, where we hopefully will have a quorum. That's it for me.
Anything from Mrs. Bertram?
Nope.
Okay, I'd just like to thank the members of town meeting for approving the capital plan put forward by the Capital Planning Committee and the request for the market study put forward by the Building Reuse Committee. That's it from my boards and committees. Now the town manager has a couple.
Okay, so first you were looking for an update on 101 Pleasant Street, and for that I would ask Land Use Director Adam Burney to provide you an update.
Good evening, all. So I did submit a written memo to the town manager this afternoon. The long and short of it is, excuse me, the Conservation Commission is not looking to put their thumb on the town over the 30-day time limit. There's a lot of work going on offline between the Conservation Commission, Kinder Morgan, the Army Corps of Engineers, and Mass DEP to sort out what's happening and work to get the property owner moving towards compliance on his 2 properties on Electric and Pleasant, with the intent that he will commit to put forward the restoration plan for the town property at 225 Pleasant. We had our first stroke of good luck with this issue when we met with Kinder Morgan the first time. Their environmental employee, professional wetland scientist, Mr. Novak, was on site, and when they replaced the gas line in, I think it was 2009, maybe, they had existing conditions for the whole area. So we have a pre-disturbance existing conditions plan. So doing any restoration or estimation of what's on site is a matter of surveying the way it exists now, overlaying the 2, and we have a place to go. The Conservation Commission has requested that the property owner at 101 Pleasant and 190 Electric have their engineer do that work. The engineer has indicated he's willing and able to do the work. His client has not committed the funds at this time, so he hasn't performed the work. They're working to get the 101 Pleasant Street property sorted in the short term, as that's the one that has the widest variety of violations. In speaking with the Army Corps and Mass DEP, they felt the town was moving in an appropriate direction. DEP was not looking to do any enforcement. They also didn't offer any help, in that if the property owner, an alleged violator, were to appeal any action by the Conservation Commission, it would go to DEP. So they've said, we'll look at everything, but we're not going to get involved. Army Corps has offered to help in any way that they can, as they have jurisdiction over Riverfront, and Kinder Morgan is involved with Army Corps. And so they said that they would be willing to send a letter to the alleged violator indicating that, in their estimation, he is the violator and that he should look to move towards making progress on restitution before they have to get involved further.
Mr. Chairman?
Ms. Baker?
I have been at the Conservation Commission meetings where this has been talked about, and while the engineer has indicated verbally that, you know, he is aware that it needs to be taken care of and that he's going to work towards taking care of it, my concern is, have we sent anything in writing to the property owner informing him that it's our belief that this work was done, you know, by him and that he needs to correct it? Because my concern is, unless this is all hearsay from the engineer, we haven't had any, I'm not aware of any conversations with the property owner or any correspondence to the property owner requesting that he take appropriate action to remediate this situation.
What I'll say is I don't have evidence that they've sent anything. I know that there's been a lot of conversations between the conservation agent and the engineer. I know that the property owner has been absent from a lot of those conversations, probably for everybody's benefit, seeing the way that he has behaved at the Conservation Commission meetings.
Right.
I think they're hoping that working with the engineer will help convince this gentleman to do it. I can't confirm or deny that they have communicated in writing. I can certainly double check on that, and if not, I can encourage them to move in that direction. I think in my conversations with the chair and the agent, the discussion has been they prefer him to just do it all because it saves the town having to go through the trouble. I also get the impression that they have held back from requesting it in writing, in that they don't necessarily feel it's under their authority to offer a directive to someone to correct actions on town property that's not within the control of the Conservation Commission. So what I would suggest to sort of answer your concern is, I can follow up and find out if they have sent anything in writing ordering or requesting that remediation on town property be done, and if not, work with the chair and the town manager to put something together from the Board of Selectmen, as it is property under their control, making that request.
And I would agree with that. And the Conservation Commission has been very, very careful in all of their meetings that they make sure they distinguish the property that's owned by the violator in contrast to the property owned by the town of Lunenburg. And in fact, when these properties are discussed, they don't include the town of Lunenburg. And when I actually have tried to bring up the town of Lunenburg land, I've been told that's a separate issue. We can't talk about that. So I've had a couple offline conversations with the engineer, and he's indicated a willingness to work with the town to correct the problem. My concern is, as you noted, the property owner is absent. I'm not aware that we, as the town of Lunenburg has been issued an enforcement order. I do think it's incumbent upon us to start this process with the alleged violator to correct the problem. So I would agree with that suggestion that the correspondence should come from the Board of Selectmen requesting that he address the property, forward him a copy of the enforcement order that we received, along with the information we've received from Kinder Morgan, which you outlined in your correspondence. But I think that we do need to notify him officially that we would like him to address these violations.
I was just going to mention, at this point, the only notification that we've provided to him was a cease and desist order.
Right.
Yeah, and that was not well received either.
And I think, as a sort of follow-up to that, and I'm speculating, but I think it's an educated speculation, that what the Conservation Commission is trying to do is sort out with this gentleman the issues he has on his property and get him to a place where he accepts what they're requiring of him, and then use that as a negotiating tool to have him move on to the work on the town land as perhaps we have an extra 30 days in our pocket that we can give you to complete the replication on your property if you're willing to undertake this other work. And again, this isn't anything they've said to me, but this is not an unknown or unusual way to approach it. The work done on our property, while horrendous and certainly impactful on that section of river, is in the short term minor. If it can be corrected in a 6-month period, it won't be disastrous to any of the environment in that area. So I'm inferring that that's the tack that they're taking, and that's why they haven't pushed the issue of the town land. Is they want to focus on what they know they can force him to do, and sort out a reasonable plan with an.
Well, respectfully, I've been at the meetings, and I will be very candid that the Conservation Commission is very careful when the engineer is there representing the property owner for the property that he owns. They are very careful not to go into detail about the town property, because the town property is the responsibility of the town. So that's my concern. Is we have done nothing as the owners of the property that now have an enforcement order against it. We have done nothing to try to facilitate those corrections with the property owner, and I think it's our responsibility. Certainly, my hope is that by doing so, the Conservation Commission can work with the applicant, because it makes sense when you're out there marking wetlands and delineating wetlands, and you're out there doing a plan of a remediation plan, to do it all at once. And that's certainly my hope. But I have been at all the Conservation Commission meetings, and I have not heard that, because, as I said, the Conservation Commission is very careful not to go into detail on that, because there is no unequivocal proof that he did it, and the responsibility lies with the town of Lunenburg. So the chairman has indicated to me on a number of occasions that he's being very careful not to do that. So I'm getting a different read from being at the meetings than what I'm hearing. And I think because there's an enforcement order against the town has a responsibility to reach out to the individual we believe did the violation and ask him to correct it by working with the Conservation Commission.
And I guess I understand that position. I think it's a reasonable position to have, and I don't think that it would be out of what we would want to do. I think that if we're going to do that, it would be important to at least have a conversation with the chair of the Conservation Commission on.
Excuse me, have we officially responded to Conservation to our enforcement order?
No.
As the town?
Not anything other than verbal conversations.
Because what I read in here is that, we have the ability to respond, they have the ability to extend the 30 days, et cetera. I think we ought to get that clock running.
Okay.
Because my concern that I share, but somewhat differently, is that we could, in fact, go do our remediation on our property, and it could get unremediated by whatever he does. So that's why we want to coordinate it, but we do certainly want to be responsive to the order that we got from the Conservation Commission.
Well, I think if we were to go and do the work tomorrow, I think it'd be very difficult for him to go and change anything, because the work that he's doing is hundreds of feet away in either direction from where we are, and our work is very specific on a very specific. It's removal of material and reseeding.
But then I'd be interested in going at, once we determine that somebody else caused that violation, I'd be interested in going after that.
Sure, and I guess what I was going to say is in working with the Conservation Chair and as a representative of the Commission to identify what they're willing to do. If we send him an order and he kind of gives us the raspberry, then we have all the tools to go and hire someone to do a survey, because we have the pre-existing conditions plan. So what needs to be done is all relative short money for the survey, for the removal of material, for the lay of jute mat and seeding. I mean, back of the napkin, I would say if we're in it for $5,000, then we're not in it for more than that.
But we shouldn't be in it for anything.
And I understand that.
But
if he's going to give us the raspberry, it may be incumbent on us to go and do the work at that point and seek, legal recourse on him for whatever.
Right, but that's just going to cost us more money. And the only way we can access the violation is through his property. That's the only way we can get to
well,
the
yes.
area that we need to work on.
But we could work with Kinder Morgan, who has an easement that accesses, and they can give us rights to access their easement because the violation is impacting their ability to close out their own Army Corps permit, which was one of the original things that brought Army Corps into it. When they did the pipeline, they had a restoration area that they needed to do from where the Jeep got stuck. And you've all been out there, you've seen the jute mat. Half of it's underwater, so their seed isn't taking, so the Army Corps is not pleased with that, but also recognizes that they didn't do it, that the town didn't do it, and are just looking to have it restored to where it should be. So we would have the ability to access over their easement. They have the right to give anyone rights to pass and repass in conjunction with their use of the property, and their use of the property would be the reseeding of that area. They've expressed an extreme interest in assisting us to assist them in closing out and moving forward and to have the town's violation ended. They did put a lot of blocks on both ends of their easement at Pleasant Street and at the church property on Electric. They've unfortunately been able to be moved by someone with an excavator, which they didn't necessarily anticipate. But they also worked with Unitil out on Pleasant Street to install the gate in the center of the blocks, and in talking with them, that's something they may be willing to work with the town on doing just inside their property line, right around where the violation happened.
You know, I just think it would be in our best interest to send a letter, and it doesn't have to be a nasty letter, just a letter outlining the circumstances of the property, that we've received an enforcement order. We have evidence that this was work done in doing the work on your property. Based on conversations with conservation and your engineer, it's our understanding that you intend to remediate the violations on your property. In doing so, we would request that you remediate the issues on the town of Lunenburg property at the same time. I mean, all I'm saying is, I think at least to have something in the file that we've officially notified him through official channels that you did some work on our property, we want you to fix it. And I think, I'm a firm believer in paper trails, and I think we need to start establishing a paper trail. And I also think we need to start requesting from conservation an extension on our enforcement order, because we're already past the 30 days. So in my opinion, there's two official correspondence that needs to go out. One to the individual that we believe did the violation, with a copy to his engineer and a copy to conservation. And certainly it would make sense to make sure that what we put in that letter agrees with conservation's position. And I also think we need to officially request an extension on our enforcement order.
I agree with the second part for sure, and I think the first part is a good tactic. Are we really beyond the 30 days, though? I thought.
Yes, we are definitely beyond the 30 days.
About 11 days.
Okay.
There's someone from the public that, I don't know if you want to. Okay.
And I can work with the town manager in the next week or so to get that stuff put together and sent out.
That's just my position. I don't know how the other members feel, but I think, as I said, I think it makes sense to notify him officially that we believe you performed this work and we'd like you to fix it.
No, I think that's reasonable.
I'm fine with that. I do want to respond to conservation, and if the right tactic is to at the same time, I don't know what proof we have that he did it, although I certainly believe that it was.
Well, I think the information that's outlined in Mr. Bernie's May 17th correspondence certainly tends to support that, and we also have photographs.
Yes, there's certainly information leaning in that direction.
Right. We certainly have photographs that were submitted by an abutter, and we also have additional information. So I think we can certainly make the case, and his engineer has indicated a willingness to do that. Now, whether or not that's with the property owners'
I don't think it's necessarily with the property owner's blessing at this time. I think it's a recognition by the engineer that all signs point in a certain direction, and that as a holistic project, it would make sense to include this area, and perhaps a willingness to impart that wisdom on his client.
So if we could draft something and get it out.
So we'll take that action. Is there anything you need me to do to get that done? Okay. Great. Thank you. Sure.
Greg Bittner, 129 Pleasant Street. I'm in a butter to 101 Pleasant Street as well as 225 Pleasant Street, and I wholeheartedly agree with Ms. Bertram that this has been going on since the violation happened on town land in February, and it's been brought to the Conservation Commission's attention at that point. I think that the reluctance of the property owner to provide information and to work with the CONSCOM and with yourselves is apparent. I would like to see you basically find out whether or not he's willing to do it and take a stand and kind of draw your line in the sand. And also, in doing some research, I would hope that you would make sure that he is qualified as being licensed to do that, because I have a document from the Department of Public Safety that says he is not licensed to operate equipment. So he does have his GC license, and I've seen him, he's the only one that's been driving that equipment the whole time, so. Can I submit this? And this is easily brought up through the DPS website through a simple license search.
Thank you. I certainly would hope that we would put that in the letter, that it has to be done by a licensed.
And also, I believe it is on the agenda for tomorrow night on the CONSCOM that they are going to be addressing the town land. And again, what's been noticeably absent here is representation from the CONSCOM, and at their meetings, I know Ms. Bertram attends them, but in not really an official capacity.
Not as an official
I would
member.
like to see an official presence from the Board of Selectmen to involve themselves with the CONSCOM, because I think getting those two groups in the same room would help expedite the process and get the information put forward, so.
But that is the responsibility of the CONSCOM, though.
Well, they issued an enforcement order to you, it's your responsibility, I would say,
And
to
our
respond to
responsibility
it.
is to respond to that.
Right. But again, it is on the agenda for tomorrow night, so I'd hope that, to see representation from the Board of Selectmen. So, thank you very much.
Bye. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Okay. Boys and Girls Club parking lot.
So this item came up again at last week's meeting, and I wanted to advise you of some meetings that I've attended and some interaction the Boys and Girls Club has had with the Council on Aging. So this came up, more than a month ago or so, where we had an evening where the parking lot in front of the Boys and Girls Club was blocked by cones. And that has happened off and on for the last several years. So I did have a meeting with the director and the chair of the board of directors. Tom Alonso also attended as a member of the Board of Selectmen, and he is on the Board of Directors there. And we had a very good discussion. We talked about the issues, and obviously the issues are there's a heavy use of that building during the after-school time, and on nice days, the kids want to be outside and they want to be, playing basketball and congregating at the picnic tables and such. And so the request was made by the director for exclusive use of that parking lot, and she limited the time to 3 to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. And we talked about some other options. I had suggested that they look at the lower parking lot, the parking lot that was between the senior center and the Boys and Girls Club, because that parking lot, while it receives a lot of use during the time that the senior center is busy, the after-school time, it's not quite as busy. And that would leave the parking lot in front of the Boys and Girls Club available to people who are coming to Town Hall, and it is municipal parking. And so the director of the Boys and Girls Club approached the director of the Council on Aging, and the Council on Aging took that up at one of their meetings, and they actually provided a letter which is in your packet this evening, and their the request of the COA is that, I guess their letter supports the original request of the Boys and Girls Club to use the parking lot in front of the Boys and Girls Club. So at this point, I don't really see any option if we want to provide some outdoor space to the Boys and Girls Club, other than exclusive use of that parking lot in the afternoon. It would not be my first choice, but I'm not sure what other solution we have in the short term. Long term, we have an issue. They're outgrowing that building. They need some space. We did talk about using some space, outdoor space over at Passios. And, the issue is that they have limited staff, and if they send kids over, they need to send a staff person. And at times, they don't have 2 staff people. And I understand that that's an issue that they need to deal with. But that's pretty much where it stands right now, is they are interested in exclusive use of that parking lot.
Personally, I appreciate the work the Teen Center does. My granddaughter goes there. I think it's a wonderful program. We have extremely limited parking in the town center for both municipal parking and businesses. And in fact, being in the center this weekend, with the toll booth going on, with businesses being open, with different activities going on, you couldn't find a place to park. And for someone who was transporting my father, who is elderly and actually is an amputee, trying to get around the center with a wheelchair was impossible. I am completely opposed to exclusive use of a municipal parking lot for the teen center. From 3 to 5, especially on the days that the town hall is open late, it's very difficult to park, and I think that having the municipal people that need to parking in the Council on Aging parking lot, and in some instances that's full as well. I just don't think that it's right. I do think we need to find a different solution. I take my grandkids to the field right next to the playground all the time. I think that's definitely a much more appropriate place to play. And when the teen center opened, we knew that parking was going to be an issue as well as space. And I think to sacrifice the parking for the municipal services, it's not a doable situation. I think that having been at the town hall and not been able to park, and when I'm not dealing with my dad when I'm up here, I'm dealing with 3 little ones in a baby carrier and going from the middle parking lot up to the town hall. It's going to be too much of a burden on people that are coming in to pay their taxes, or people that are coming in to do business, or people that have issues or concerns that need to be addressed, and to make them walk that far, I don't think it's appropriate. I think that parking is a concern for businesses. I did have an opportunity to speak to a couple of vendors this weekend. I did some shopping at the town center, and they all talked to me about the lack of parking in the town center, and that something needs to be done. On 3 different occasions when I was up here, I couldn't get up the ramp. I parked in the handicap space, but you couldn't get up the ramp because people were parking in the clearly marked no parking zone. So Tom Alonso luckily was there and actually helped me lift the wheelchair up over the curb. So I really have a problem with taking a parking lot that was paid for with the townspeople's taxes, the taxpayers' taxes, for an entity that is not supposed to cost the taxpayers money, and eliminating parking is a fundamental issue for me, and I would be opposed to this. I think that looking for a creative solution, I'm certainly happy to do that, but the reality is if they don't have enough staff to have some people playing in the field and some people playing in the building, that's another big issue to me, because that would tell me that they're extremely short-staffed for the number of kids that they have in that building. I don't know if they've talked to the church. I mean, walking up here tonight, I knew this was on our agenda. There's a field next to the church. Have they talked to the church about possibly utilizing some of their green space for kids' activities? I don't know, but to eliminate all of those parking spaces is going to hamper an already exacerbating situation.
Unfortunately, I have to disagree, Mrs. Bertram, and I think we're mixing a lot of things up here. Clearly, our town hall has inadequate parking. Clearly, if someone parks in a handicap spot or a place that blocks a handicap spot, that's unconscionable. And clearly, congestion on the weekend is a problem, but it really has nothing to do with the request of the Boys and Girls Club. I think the ultimate result is to find a town hall solution that has plenty of parking and a much nicer building and ADA accessible, and we're working real hard to do that, and hopefully the day will come when that will be convenient and accessible and have all the amenities in one place so that our employees and the people that do business with the town are able to get to those buildings conveniently. In addition, I think that the use of the existing buildings for something to revitalize downtown is part of the agenda relative to economic development. One of the problems with that is parking, and one of the marketability issues for this building itself is that it doesn't have any parking.
Well, it has that parking lot.
Well, this building doesn't have parking for this building. There is a parking lot that's owned by the town across the street.
Right, that was built for municipal parking.
Now,
Okay, but just to finish my point, I think that to have the kids involved in recreational activities and to keep them safe and out of the streets, if you will, is not a bad objective to try to balance at the same time. And I thought that it was in a trying time with no great solution. I thought a restricted couple hours in the afternoons that doesn't conflict with the senior center in the morning or with town hall meetings in the evening was a reasonable solution. You know, I just don't think it's as cut and dried. I think we got a problem and everybody has to compromise a little bit.
But how do you deal with that with employees? I worked here for 18 years, and parking was always an issue. And it's not just the weekends, it's
Well, a lot of-
during...
in retail-
Let me finish my point, is the parking during the week on occasion is extremely difficult, especially if the Council on Aging has a function going on. I have been up here on a number of occasions when the parking lots are full to capacity. And again, when you're dealing with a stroller and 3 kids or somebody in a wheelchair, I don't want to park all the way down at the Council on Aging. The other issue is you've got people that are coming in, the town hall is open beyond 3 o'clock. So if someone's coming in to pay their taxes or to get a dog license or to deal with assessor's business, we're now going to tell them that there's no place to park. And that parking lot was constructed to alleviate the parking concerns at the town hall. It wasn't constructed to be a play area for the teen center. I certainly agree that keeping kids safe and offering outside recreation is important. But the reality is we have a field within walking distance to allow recreational opportunity. This church also has a field across the street. So I agree that we need to have compromises, but what happens when employees park in the parking lot at 3 o'clock, they have to go out and move their cars? Or are we gonna tell them they can't park there?
Well, you know, in retail, they leave the spots close to the facility for customers, and the employees have to park in an auxiliary lot and take a bus.
We don't have an auxiliary lot.
Yeah, we have the one by the senior center. We could tell our employees they have to park up there. We could tell our employees they have to park over by the primary building. We could do a lot of things. And I'm not suggesting that things are that draconian that we have to. But I think that if it's that critical to make parking available for the customers of Town Hall, we could do it by asking our employees to park a little further away from Town Hall. And I'm here a lot. I'd be willing to park wherever employees park.
I don't feel like the parking lot in the middle is that much further away.
Exactly. Well,
No, I don't either.
well, it is that much further away. If you walk,
I mean, if you're in a shopping mall, you can park for days to get to the stores. I mean, I just don't think it's asking too much of employees to park in that middle
I'm
lot.
not talking about employees. I'm talking about people that are trying to come to the town hall to conduct business.
Fine, and maybe the solution is to ask employees to park further away so there's more spots around Town Hall.
Okay? And those spots on town hall are going to be the ones in the street, because we don't have town hall parking.
No, yeah.
So now we're going to limit our parking spaces for town hall business to 4 or 5 parking spaces that are on the street. And we're going to eliminate the 19 spaces that were constructed with taxpayers' money
For 3 hours,
for the Boys and Girls Club to
for
use as
weekdays,
a park.
3 hours a day,
as
yeah, I'd
play
be willing to
area.
do that.
It's just 2 hours a day, right? It's 3 to 5.
Well, obviously, I'm in the minority, so.
And, you know, maybe it's important that we we don't vote on this or anything, we hold until the full board is here and have a further discussion, but I don't mind, I don't think the ideal solution is at hand. I'm hoping that our plans for the town center will address this, and it'll be a win-win for everybody. I'm hoping that the Boys and Girls Club finds a better facility for themselves. They're growing tremendously, and I think that's terrific. They're outgrowing the inside of their building as well as the outside of their
Agreed.
building. But by the same token, to ask for 2 hours of a small parking lot, I don't think it's the end of the world. Maybe I'm...
So then I would
And
suggest
I'm not
that-
trying to inconvenience customers. I want to be really clear.
Well, you are
And when you're talking
customers,
about being with your dad and being with the kids, I see you in that role as a customer,
Exactly. And I
not as an
am.
employee.
And I
I
am.
think you
And I
should
am.
have access.
And I am.
Absolutely.
And, when you say it's not that far away, it is when you're pushing a wheelchair.
Absolutely. And as a customer, I think you should have
And you
prior to
have, you
parking.
have one handicap space. And if every space is taken, and I have to take my dad up here, which I actually do in the next couple days to do a healthcare proxy, I am going to have to push him up a hill to the town center, to the town hall, if that one handicap
this-
space is
but-
taken.
But the teen center's not a convenient spot to park handicapped anyway.
It's certainly much closer than the Council on Aging parking lot, and I go to both. I go to the Council on Aging with the kids, I go to the town hall with the kids, and my dad. And it is that much
I'd like to
further.
see you be able to park on the street outside.
Well, so would I. But unfortunately, most of the time that I come up here, I can count on one hand the amount of times that I can do that unless it's a night meeting.
So we could eliminate employee parking on the street. And that would open up 3 spaces in front of Town Hall, 5 spaces across the street. On Memorial Drive, there's probably 5 or 6 spaces over there. I mean, we can
That would help.
eliminate that, and then, advise employees that they can park in the middle parking lot. The concern there is then if they take up the spaces for the senior center, then we have a little bit of an issue. There are a number of employees that park behind the building that's not public parking, but due to the level of activity over at the village, it's never been an issue with the landlord, but I have never encouraged people to park there either because that's not municipal parking.
I do think that's going to be an issue. I know that there's another business opening up at the village, which is a good thing. But I was in the village, and I actually was at 3 different establishments over the weekend and heard from all of them the parking issues that they have. So I would encourage that employees do not park in the back of the building, because I heard from all 3 of the people businesses that I talked to over the weekend that parking is an issue. I also think that when we offer during the week, parking is and during the weekend, parking is an issue. It's an issue. Let me finish. This weekend happened to be an anomaly because there was a voluntary toll booth going on. One of the people that I talked to said, I would ask that when the selectmen approve voluntary toll booths, you let the people know that they can't park in the town center. Because by allowing them to park in the town center, you've now eliminated all of our parking. Because for a voluntary toll booth, and this weekend it was the Boys and Girls Club toll booth, and everyone that was parked was wearing the yellow shirts because they were out there in the road, and I've participated in the Salvation Army toll booth too, and I did the same thing. I parked up here.
So we didn't,
And so I think that moving forward, I think that when people are coming to work in a voluntary toll booth, that they shouldn't be parking in the vendor spaces for the village. They should be parking in whatever parking lot we deem that the employees are going to park in.
Yeah, that middle parking lot, I think, would be a perfect spot.
So I think that's something we should add to
Yeah,
our,
something we
our
really didn't
things.
think about.
I actually,
That makes a lot of sense.
not to nitpick, but I've done a lot of Salvation Army ones, and we make it a point not to park in the center of town or in the parking lot here.
Well, I actually did.
Because we do it a lot, and we know that that's a problem.
Yeah, I actually did, and I know sometimes the Lions
Yeah.
people do too.
Yeah.
So that's something
But
moving
that's a
forward, that
good-
if we
that's a good
could,
suggestion.
if we could ask them not to park there, I think that would be helpful for the businesses.
I'll email, I've been in contact with Lisa Normandin. I'll email her tomorrow and
Yeah.
make sure that she knows that people should not park in the center, because that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I think that if we are going to, if the board votes to allow the parking lot to be utilized for play space from 3 to 5, I would suggest that we put signs up and have signs posted, and just remind the teen center well, they won't need cones,
Right.
because then it'll be signed, so.
No, I agree. That's the converse, is that they can't put cones up and leave them there overnight.
Right,
That
right,
doesn't-
right, which is what happened last Tuesday.
Right.
And I don't know how it works if, if people are parked there earlier, if there's just leftover parking,
Well-
the 3 to 5 thing, how do you make sure the cars aren't there from 3 to 5?
We just put a no parking from 3 to 5.
Yeah, okay.
Right, you have to put signs up.
I also say it's a bit of a stretch of the legs, but for employees or for me, you also have over School Street. It's
You
across
put
the
the
street, but
library.
there's a lot of space over there,
Right,
Right.
You can park at the library.
at the Ritter Building.
And again, I think
Oh, the
that,
library, yeah, okay.
I think that part of the, at least on paper plans now for the Passios as a town hall, would even add parking to what's currently at Passios. We have plans to draw in some more parking in some spaces, especially if we take that.
Right, for municipal use,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we would have to, I think.
No, but especially if we take that third of the building down. We're still not sure on whether we're
Oh,
gonna,
okay. Okay, yeah.
So are you looking to then continue this until the full board
I don't think
is-
there's well, you guys can do it if you want to. I know Mr. Alonso supports it, and I don't have a problem if you guys want to.
I think we're looking
Take
to
action
solve
tonight.
a problem, and
I just,
work collaboratively to
Yeah,
solve it.
I happen to disagree with taking over the parking lot, but that's okay. I understand your perspective, but I also think that there are other solutions for play areas, and I think that there are more appropriate areas to play in, and I think the field is ideal, which is not far away from the teen center.
I mean, that would be great. That's a great goal.
I think it's a
right?
better place to play, too.
It's absolutely a better place to
They have to
play.
work through their staffing issues as we have to work through our parking issues.
Right.
So then is their general agreement to allow them exclusive use from 3 to 5 Monday through Friday if the employee parking is eliminated on street? And
Then we'll hear from the employees next week, right?
no, you won't, but probably on my phone is probably blowing up right now already, but
They can call me, too.
we can take care of that. So that's what I'll advise
Okay,
them
great.
then.
With the provision, I would hope that there be signage done.
Yeah, there will have to, I had already talked to the DPW director about that because I think that's important. All right.
Okay. MIAA credits.
So I provided you a packet this evening with some information on the credits that we have received on our insurance coverages. You've heard me speak throughout the year about the opportunity the town has to participate in different activities and receive credit on our insurance. Those credits are called rewards credits, and we will be closing out fiscal year for the purpose of calculating rewards credits at the end of this month. So I wanted to give you a recap on the activity to date and the credits that we received, because while we certainly have room for improvement, I was very pleasantly surprised with what we've done to date. So there is a summary spreadsheet that shows all of the different lines of insurance that we have: property, general liability, automobile, law enforcement, public officials, school board, and workers' comp. And for most of these lines of insurance, we are eligible to receive a credit up to a certain amount, in most cases up to 8%, and in a couple up to 6%. And so I've identified what the cost of the insurance is, broken it down between town and school, the percentage of the credit that's available, and the activities we've undertaken to date, what we will expect to receive, and what the estimated value is. So we pay a total of $197,754, or did in fiscal 16, the current fiscal year, for all of our insurance combined between town and school. And our rewards credits are 3.67%, or $7,262.29. So, and again, that's just for undertaking different activities. I've included the application that we will be submitting. It is through the end of April, so we have a month's worth of activity to add before we send it in. I don't expect that we'll have a whole lot more, but you can get an idea of the types of things that we can do and the credit that we would receive. This application is updated every year, so the same activities are not always available, but they're the same types. They're training, they're inspections, and the like. We also receive additional credits, which I've identified on the spreadsheet. We receive a credit for early payment, so if we pay our full insurance bill at the beginning of the fiscal year, we receive a 4% credit, and that's $7,910.16. And we do a similar thing with our retirement assessment, and we receive a discount for doing that. And then we also receive participation credits, and these are credits that are awarded by the Maya Board of Directors based on performance of the trust as a whole, and they are to recognize long-term loyalty and commitment to Maya membership. And in fiscal 16, we will receive participation credits of $8,497. So all of the credits that we will receive in the current fiscal year total $23,669.45, or almost 12% of our insurance premium in total. So I was, again, very pleased that we were able to undertake a number of activities, and I know there's room for improvement going forward. Some of the things in here will be good items to identify in departmental goals, to have certain departments participate in some of these activities so we can do even better in fiscal 17.
That's great.
It is great.
Great.
The only other, I do have the pay-as-you-throw bags on here. I'd like to continue that to the next meeting. I'm still doing some work on it. As I mentioned, the bags are available. Casella is willing to pick up the bags. The one concern I have, and the item I don't really have a good solution for, is there is a weight limit that for each of the bags. And we do occasionally have an issue with the larger bags that we offer, that they don't get picked up because they're overweight. And so if we offer an even larger bag, I think there's going to be more of that conflict. And
I would think so.
I need to come up with a better solution other than, offering the bags and telling people you can only put 50 pounds in and expect people are going to weigh their bags. I mean, that's not something that I would do. So I'm still working on that, and I'll report back to you. The only other item I had in the packet is I put together some information for you to take a look at on health insurance. None of this is confidential. This is all public information. This is just a compilation of all of our insurance. I'm going to use this document to start my meeting with the Public Employee Committee. We're meeting tomorrow. As you know, it's time to renegotiate the PEC agreement, and so this is our starting point. And I think there's a lot of good information in here on current costs for our insurance breakdown by type of insurance, whether it's family or individual, between municipal, school, and retiree. So just some data for you to have available as we work through renegotiation of the health insurance agreement. Okay. Yeah. I guess we.
You have municipal, school, and retirees. Retirees are from the municipal and school, right?
Yes, they are, and I can segregate them, but I have it segregated, but I didn't segregate it here. So the retiree health costs, whether an employee retired from one of the municipal departments or from the school, the cost associated with health insurance is on the town side of the budget. We don't separate those out between, those costs between town and school. And so I just...
Retirees?
The retirees, yeah.
Can you, or do you just not choose to?
We can, but we
That's not the way they're
don't.
budgeted though, right?
Yeah, we don't.
But, I mean, the state doesn't say you can't.
Right, the state does not say that you can't.
Because it seems like it's part of the cost of the school. And the more of the school costs that are on the town side, the less you know at the town.
Yeah, it may be something that we account for on Schedule 19. We've talked about Schedule 19 before. That is a schedule that the town puts together annually for school costs, and we identify costs that are related to education but borne out or paid for outside of the school budget. So debt service.
Mm-hmm. When do we get to see that?
We can, that's not something that we've distributed, but we certainly can. It's prepared after the close of the fiscal year. So usually all of that stuff will go in September, and I can make a note to send a copy to the board.
Might be of interest, FYI.
And I certainly can.
I have a copy of my tax bill from the 70s, and it lists what the school, how much of the expense of the taxes goes to the school and how much is municipal, and it was like a third was municipal and 2/3 was the school. I could bring that in. So they probably
You have
had
anything
it
else?
realigned then.
Okay. The agenda doesn't say we're meeting next Tuesday, but I believe we are because there is a fifth. The last day of the month is the 31st. So was it?
Yeah.
I think we will meet the 24th unless there's an
But
objection,
I
right?
assumed we were.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
assumed we
okay,
would
fine.
too.
So our next meeting is next Tuesday, May 24th. Remind you that the town election is May 21st, and the town Memorial Day celebration is May 29th, but we'll talk about that again more next week. Is there any final public comment from the public? Please, Mr. Bittner.
Hi, Greg Bittner, 129 Pleasant Street. I had a question, actually. So we have one handicap parking space out front here. Would it be beneficial to add one more? I mean, there's a requirement we have to have a minimum, but I don't think there's any maximum, and that may alleviate some of the handicap issues. And then also, if you sign the ones by the street for 2-hour parking, which I think is enough time for people to conduct their business in town, that would kind of eliminate employees parking there, because obviously they would be here for longer. And then the other thing on that is, does the teen center have access to the gym at the Passios at all? I mean, I'm an advocate for playing outdoors, but in the wintertime, now that it's under town control.
There's another group that uses the gym. I don't know the exact scheduling,
Okay.
but they could probably work, they could schedule. They could work out a schedule, but it doesn't alleviate their supervision issue.
Right. I understand that
Right.
you can't really divide and conquer. In regards to the Paul Doherty being appointed to the ZBA, I want to support that publicly as a resident. And then also the pay-as-you-throw bags, do we pay overages for materials that aren't supposed to go in the trash? Do we have an idea if we have penalties for that, or?
We don't pick up, if a bag contains material that is not covered under our contract, it doesn't get picked up.
Okay.
If something got picked up by accident, I'm not aware that we've paid any penalties for it.
Okay, so
I've
someone
had
throws their
occasion-
oil filter in the bag and just nobody sees it.
I've had occasion where something shouldn't be there, and he leaves it, and he leaves a tag to tell you why he didn't take it. Now, I don't know if they always do
Right.
that. but-
Well, we're a family of 5, so we generate quite a bit of trash, so I recycle as much as possible. because what I do is I take a contractor bag that I buy at Home Depot, I put everything in there and tie it up if we have a birthday party or something we know we're gonna have. And the large bags actually fit over that, so I don't think it's the size of the large bags, I think it's the durability. Is there a way to get the large bags, just a heavier duty large bag, not a larger bag? Because I think that might encourage people to throw things in there that aren't supposed to go in there, and also go over the weight limit.
Yeah, we can look at that. The
Okay, yeah,
request
just-
was for larger sized bags.
Okay, I spent some time chasing the trash truck in my career, so I've dealt with. I actually spoke with the Casella guys and said, do you prefer that I tie the yellow bag? Because we can stuff about 5 of our white kitchen bags in a large bag. And they actually said, just leave it open and we'll chuck the bags in and then pick up, so it's not so heavy, so we're not trying to lift it and leave it in your front yard, so, but anyways, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any public comment from the board? Entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.